Let's play some Everdell. Okay, Everdell at its core is a worker placement tableau style building game. Throughout the game you will be utilizing your workers to gain resources. With those resources then you will then construct critters and constructions within your tableau or your town. Your town can be made up of 15 cards, typically arranged in 3 rows of 5, and that's the maximum number of critters and constructions you can build within your little village. So on your turn you have a choice of 3 actions. You can place a worker, play a card. The third alternative is to prepare for the next season. So starting off with our worker placement, at the beginning of the game each player will start off with 2 workers. There are initially 2 types of locations you can place your workers. There are the basic locations along the river here, and then there are additional forest locations on the side. These are cards. They are dynamic in the sense that each game you will have different forest locations to play with. They typically provide better resources or better results for your workers to be placed there. So quickly taking a look at the basic locations. So the top left here we have this location will provide 3 twigs. The one next to it 2 twigs and 1 card. You'll notice the different types of locations here where this paw print is completely encircled, whereas the one to the right of it, the circle is not complete. What that suggests is that those that where the paw print is completely encircled, only one player or one of any person's workers can be placed here. Those locations with an open circle means that more than one player or one worker can be placed there. Okay, continuing along our basic locations. So 2 resin, a resin and a card. The cards you would pick up from the pile there in the tree. To the right here, 2 cards and a victory point represented by these yellow tokens, a stone, a berry and a card, and finally a berry. To give you an idea of what the forest cards can provide, the one on the right here, you can discard up to 3 cards from your hand and gain 1 of any resource for each card discarded. So this little basket of goodies represents any resource of your choice. The ones on the left here pick up 3 cards as well as a stone, and then pick up a twig, resin and a berry. You'll notice on the forest locations there are 2 available locations. However, the second location is only opened up on a 4-player game, represented by that little mouse with the 4 in the middle of it there. So in essence there are just 4 types of resources to be purchased. And then once you have those resources, you will then be able to start to purchase and build critters and constructions within your town. So at the beginning of the game, you will start off with a hand of cards. The first player will start off with 5 cards, second player with 6, third player with 7, and then the last player, 4th player, with 8 cards there. At any one point in time, you may only have up to 8 cards in your hand. If you have an ability that allows you to draw more than 8, you would then stop at the 8 and not draw any more above and beyond that. Whenever you're looking to build or construct a construction or a critter within your village, you can either play that card from your hand or from the meadow. So consider the meadow as an extension to your hand. However, the meadow is open to all players, whereas your hand is exclusive to what you are able to construct within your village. So taking a look at the different types of cards that you can construct. So as I mentioned, there are 2 types. There are critters and constructions. So this twig barge is what is known as a construction. So it is a common construction card. The cost to purchase or to build this construction is 1 twig and 1 pebble. At the end of the game, it is worth 1 victory point. This little symbol here denotes what type of card it is. So the green production card, when played in your town, will trigger whatever content is in the middle here. So as soon as I was to place this card into my village, paying its cost, I would automatically gain an additional 2 twigs. Other types of cards. So let's take a look at a critter. Here's a critter. It costs 3 berries to place within my village. Again, it is another production type card, so as soon as it is played, I get to copy one other production card in an opponent's city. Again, valued 1 victory point at the end of the game. They always have little flavor text at the bottom here, which is always interesting to read as you play through it as well. The thing about critters is, you'll notice up in the top left here, it's got the word mine. If I already have a mine construction within my village, I can place this miner mole for free without paying the 3 berries. It's an important factor to remember as you're playing through this game. You're effectively building the construction, in this case it would be the mine, and then the miner mole decides to move in. Other card types that are available include the Tan Traveller, represented by this tan little picture down here. So what this means is that once played, once constructed in your city, this card will immediately activate and then not activate again for the rest of the game. So in this case, the Postal Pigeon revealed 2 cards. You may play one worth up to 3 for free and discard the other. The red destination type cards activate once you've built the construction or the card in your village, and you place a worker on the location. So in this case, the post office, give an opponent 2 cards, then discard any number of card and draw up to the hand limit. You'll notice in the bottom right on the construction cards, it tells you the critter that you can build for free in the event that you own this in your village. So in this case, the Postal Pigeon. So if I had the post office, I could then play the Postal Pigeon in my town for free. You'll also notice this open sign on the post office. That means that any other player or your opponents can also place one of their critters here and then activate or trigger the card. However, in that case, you would also get, as the owner of the post office, 1 victory point. The blue governance cards, represented by this little blue symbol here, this grants you bonuses after playing certain card types and offer different ways to play cards for a discount. So in this case, for the crane, when playing a construction card, you may discard this crane from your city to play that construction for 3 fewer of any type of resource. So it's a way for you to take up this slot in your village by destroying this card and building something else in its place. Remembering that you can only have 15 cards in your village at one time. Last but not least, we also have the purple prosperity cards. For example, the king here is a purple prosperity card, and these are worth base points and the list of bonus points at the end of the game. So it's like an end game type card that is a long-term strategy. So in this case, the king, you would gain 1 victory point for each basic event you achieved and 2 for each special event you achieved at the end of the game, plus the additional 4 there. One thing to note, there are unique critters and unique constructions, in which case you can only have one of those unique critters or constructions in your village at a time. So in this case, I can only have 1 king built in my village. The common constructions and critters, you can have as many of those as you like. So looking at the basic events and special events. So you'll notice that there are basic events at the very back of the board here. What this means is, in the event that you are able to achieve its requirements, so in the case of the Harvest Festival event, you would need 4 production type cards in your village, in which case you can place a worker here and actually take this piece of cardboard to confirm or to reflect that you will gain an additional 3 victory points at the end of the game. You also have the Cartographer's Expedition event requiring 3 Tan Travelers, the Grand Tour event requiring 3 red destinations, and lastly the City Monument event requiring 3 blue governors. In addition to that, you also have the special events, which are listed at the top here. So for example, if we were to take a look at this special event here, it's called the Tax Relief. You would once So it would require you to have the judge and the queen built in your village. It will then enable you to activate a production card and then gain 3 victory points at the end of the game as well. Another example is the flying doctor's service here. Requires again the doctor and the postal pigeon in your village, and then you would gain 3 victory points for each husband/wife pair in every city. It's not just your city, but in your opponent's city as well. Again, in order to grant access to this event, you would need to place a worker here, and then that would actually come off the tree and be placed in your village as well. The third and last action that is available for you to take on your turn is to prepare for the next season. So the idea with the game is that it takes 1 full year. We begin in winter. When you are unable to do anything else on your turn, when you're unable to place any more workers or play any more cards into your town or your village, you would then prepare for the next season. The first season up here, reflected by the tree, is spring, in which case you would take an additional worker. You would also then activate all other green production cards that are currently built in your city. You would then continue your turns until such time that you're unable to do anything else. At that point, you would then prepare for summer. You would then grab an additional worker and then draw 2 cards from the meadow here. And last but not least, moving into autumn, you would gain an additional 2 workers and again be able to activate all of your green production cards that you've built in your village. 2 other sections on the board that are available for you to utilize throughout the game includes the Haven. Again, this is a location that is available to multiple people. At the Haven, it enables you to discard any number of cards from your hand. For every 2 cards you discard, you gain 1 of any type of resource. The second area that is available is the journey. So this is only available in autumn, so in the very last season. Place your workers on any of these locations. When you do so, you would then need to discard equal to the number of points that are available. So if I was to place my worker here, I would discard 5 cards from my hand, and then I would gain an additional 5 victory points at the end of the game. You'll notice the 3, 4, and 5 are closed circles, so only 1 player or 1 worker can be placed there. The 2-point location is available to as many workers as you like. In essence, that's the core of the game. You're basically building up your tableau as you go through, creating your city or your village of 3 by 5, triggering obviously the events as you go through. At the end of the game, you would count up the victory points that are available on your village played cards, any special events that you've managed to accrue, as well as basic events that you managed to achieve throughout the game as well. Welcome back to the Victory Point Coalition, and let's talk about Everdell, this amazing worker placement tableau building game. The production of this game is A+. When you have this game set up on your table, it is going to draw attention, I can promise you that. This tree alone just adds such a 3D dimension to the board game. I haven't really seen that in other games before. It is thematically, it just adds a lot to the game itself. The components, the resources, the twigs, the resin, the stones, even these berries, like they're squishy. You just want to play with them the entire time. It's just a phenomenal production, this game. Even the artwork and the flavor text, just so much humor thrown throughout the game as well, but discreetly as well, which is quite nice. One thing I need to mention that I forgot to state in the video, we were talking about the postal pigeon and the fact that when I have a post office built, so here's our post office, and I play the postal pigeon for free. I then use these little door tokens to then place on the post office to indicate that somebody is now residing at the post office. I can't buy or place another postal pigeon for free without having another post office in my tableau or in my village. So that these little door tokens indicate that you've used that card to purchase a critter at no cost.
Another thing I want to mention, these special event card tokens that I have up here, they do not come with the game. They are just little 3D printed leaves. I actually found an STL file on Thingiverse, and I will link that in the comment section below that you can organize to be printed. I actually gave the STL file to my local library, and they were able to print them off for me really cheaply for like less than $2, I think it was. Yeah, quite nice, and adds a nice feature to the tree. Otherwise, the cards remain sitting down, and you'll find that players are constantly standing up just to take a look at what the special event cards are doing. This way, with the leaves, they are physically standing up, so it kind of makes it easier to see the cards throughout the game. From a strategy perspective and ways to help you win the game, I've played a handful of games of Everdell so far. Each game has widely been different. In some games I've only had maybe 10 or 12 cards established in my village. Other games I've had the maximum 15, and I want to keep placing more, but I'm maxed at that 15. Bear in mind that players will progress through the seasons at different times, which is absolutely okay. You might be on the summer season, however there could be still players left on the spring. That's fine. People will progress through the game differently depending on what cards they are able to play in their village and what resources they're able to trigger and continue to play throughout the seasons. So don't let that discourage you. It just means they're playing a different type of game. One key recommendation that I have learned is to really try and build up as many of these green production cards very early on in the game. That will really kickstart your engine, because bearing in mind there are a minimum of 2 times that you will be able to activate those green production cards throughout the game. When you trigger spring and then again at autumn. In addition to that, there are other cards in the game that will enable you to re-trigger those production cards again, which again provide those resources and those all-important resources to then enable you to build additional constructions and critters within your village as well. Don't be afraid to take advantage of the Haven section of the board. Again, it provides you ability to kind of discard some of the cards in your hand that you're really hanging on to for no particular reason at all. If you can remove those cards from your hand and draw some new fresh cards from the deck, it's going to provide you some more options and opportunities to further expand your village as well. We talked about the ability that you are able to play critters for free in the event that you already have the construction built in your village. This is an important part of the game. It really enables you to really progress throughout the game without having to pay the cost each time for those critters. So take note of what is available in your hand, take note of what is available in the meadow for everyone to use. If you have the same card both in your hand and the meadow, I typically take the meadow one because it reduces the opportunity for somebody else to grab that card and play it. And then I can always discard that card from my hand at a later time via the Haven or other means throughout the game. When I first start the game, I have found in the past I find it difficult to know what path I should take. So I think some important factors to mention is when you first start the game, take note of the special events that are available at the top, taking note specifically as to what card requirements are at the top of each of those quests or events. So that might provide some type of direction for you. Also taking into account what cards you do have in your hand and in the meadow. Looking at the constructions that you can build that will enable you to automatically draw or play the critter card for free. Some of the larger purple cards, for example, the king and the castle. So this is actually a combo. If you're able to build the castle, you can then build the king for free. They provide some long-term strategy or late game strategy gains that will provide some really big victory points at the end of the game, but require quite a bit of resources and able to get there. The castle in itself requires 2 twigs, 3 resin and 3 stone there alone, which is quite an expensive card, but at the same time can potentially provide a lot of victory points as well. I'm going to link down in the comments below to the BoardGameGeek.com forum site. There is a thread there that provides some great card combos that I think are worthwhile taking note of. Combos that people have played with and have identified to be, fruitful in the sense that it works well for them. It might give you some more direction as to ways in which you can kind of achieve some great starting turns to really boost your engine and get some quick victory points at the beginning and ultimately win the game as well. All in all, thoroughly enjoy Everdell. My wife and I play this quite a bit. It is a favorite with my gaming group as well. Check it out. As I mentioned, phenomenal production, worthwhile to buy. Although it may look cutesy with the cards and the critters, great strategy depth in this game. Highly recommended. Check it out, Everdell. Thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.